It looks like we are slowing down, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar, One Platform, Every Device, Better Endpoint Management. Um, I'm going to go over some housekeeping items, have us introduce ourselves, and then go through some slides before we jump into the platform. We'll spend as much time in NinjaOne as we can today to show you what NinjaOne can do and how we can help you. If you are a current customer, this is a great opportunity to get a new overview of the platform, hear about some of our recent releases and updates, and really dig in and see some cool things that you might not be doing in NinjaOne today. If you are not a NinjaOne customer, this is probably your best opportunity to see the whole platform of NinjaOne and learn about how we help IT leaders and IT teams like you, um, build better outcomes in IT. So we're gonna go over really the whole platform. If you are a customer and want a deeper dive on sort of new use cases and deeper utilization of the platform, we do actually have a customer-centric webinar coming up in October. You can actually find a link to that in the resources section and go ahead and register for that. This will be a fairly high-level overview for people who are either new to the platform or who are not currently using NinjaOne. Some housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded. We will send out that recording shortly after the webinar, usually a day or two. We do want this to be as interactive as possible. There is a Q&A section. If you have questions for us, go ahead and drop them in there. We'll also try to answer questions in chat, but the Q&A section is a little bit easier for us to get to and answer effectively at the end of the webinar. But we also encourage you to chat with each other because you'll learn as much from each other as you will from us. With that, I think we can go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Pete Breton. I am the head of product strategy here at NinjaOne. Been at Ninja for about 6 years. Don't get to do too many webinars anymore, but I'm super excited to join you for this one. And I'm joined by Jeff Hunter, our field CTO. Jeff, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. I have mostly taken over Pete's webinar responsibilities, so I am here as a security blanket, and I'll also be doing the demonstration portion. So if you have any questions about anything that I show, make sure you get them in the Q&A section.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So, quick content outline. I'll jump into a little bit about the challenges we see in IT teams today, introduce you to the NinjaOne platform, share a little bit about what makes NinjaOne great. At least we think so. Talk a little bit about recent releases and updates and new platform capabilities, and then we'll hand it over to Jeff to walk through the platform and give you that overview of what NinjaOne can do for you. So, with that, we can go ahead and jump in. So really, NinjaOne is here because modern IT is drowning in endpoint complexity. If you look at the preferences of an end user, for example, they're getting more complex. We're getting more demanding, and we're requiring more of our IT teams. Because of that, and because of all of the silos that you see in IT management today, you're seeing blind spots across the IT estate. You're seeing a sprawling IT stack that has shrinking ROI, and you're seeing talent shortages and rising pressure on IT teams. Now, if you're in an environment where none of these are true, let me know. I have plenty of people who would love to go and work with you. But if you see these things in your environments, whether you're an MSP and have client environments that look like this, or you're an enterprise IT leader and you see these in your environment, these are really common. We talk to, IT leaders, whether they be IT managers, directors, all the way up to CIOs on a daily basis. And these are common themes that we see. Digging into that blind spot across the IT estate, when you don't have complete visibility, you don't know what you're managing, you can't secure it, you can't manage it effectively, you can't support it. We see constantly gaps in operational intelligence. You don't know if you don't have real-time device information, you don't know what the challenges your devices face are, you don't know where they are, you don't know how they're configured. So you can't manage them, you can't secure them, you can't support them. And last but not least, particularly for deeply heterogeneous environments, you oftentimes have these deeply fragmented endpoint data sets where you're looking at data in two, three, four platforms to really report up, whether it be for security, whether it be for compliance purposes, whether it just be for operational day-to-day issues. It's really hard to get a complete view of your environment. In that same idea, because you have lots of different tools in your environments, you don't see the return on your investment, and you see a higher total cost of ownership for your IT management capabilities. This first point here, 20 plus average tools used to manage endpoints in IT in large enterprise. I can give you a really clear example of this. just within the last month, I was talking with a very large enterprise, and they had 14 different remote access tools spread across their couple 100,000 endpoint environment. And there was a new CIO who's coming in trying to rationalize their IT spend. And they took a look at this. It's like, why do we have all these different tools bought by different teams just to manage our environments? That was just remote access. On top of that, they were using three different tools just to patch their Windows, just their Windows environment. They had other tools for Mac and Linux as well. And so you see this sprawl, and it makes it impossible to manage and secure your environment. But there's also a huge, software licensing cost, human cost, and frankly, like mental health cost to just having all of those tools in your environment. Not only that, when you go and look at, the employee experience and you consider, hey, my endpoint is slow, tell me why. Well, if you look, you might have 8, 9, 10 different agents on the device that are just clogging up your endpoints and making them inefficient and ineffective. And last but not least here, as your IT team works, if they're switching between lots of different contexts and lots of different tools, it just makes those workflows inefficient. Last but not least, here is those talent shortages and rising pressure. Top talent's scarce. It's hard to find good people. It's hard to hire them. You've got really, really top tier tech companies, for example, pulling away some of your best talent. They want a great work environment where the tools they use aren't miserable, don't make their life miserable. They're easy to use. They don't require a PhD to learn. It allows them to automate those mundane, terrible tasks that they don't like on a daily basis. These things matter in hiring and retaining top talent. When we think about why Ninja's here, it's to help solve these problems. So ultimately, we believe that you deserve better endpoint management. And that's the mission we've been on for the 6 years I've been here, and I think the 11 or 12 years Ninja's been around. So as of today, we have about 30,000 customers spread globally, name brands that you'll recognize down to, 50 employee companies up to, 100 plus thousand endpoint companies across all industries, across all IT management needs. And if you go and look out in the ecosystem, you'll see that our customers regularly rate us very highly across every category we play in, from unified endpoint management to RMM to mobile device management to patch management to backup. Really, what our mission has been is to bring this simple yet very powerful endpoint management to every company that needs it, which I would argue is pretty much everybody. And so that's our mission, and we're here to hopefully show you how we can help you. Now, that's great. We're here to help you, but what does NinjaOne do? Well, NinjaOne is the automated endpoint management platform, and we're going to help you automate the hardest parts of IT by giving you everything you need to monitor and manage every endpoint, patch, backup, and protect every device, and support every employee. As IT shifts from a very device and hardware centric mode into a very employee centric model, we want to give you everything that to ensure that all of your devices you have full visibility and control over them. They're all protected, and you're delivering on the fundamentals of security. And most importantly, that every employee feels supported, productive, and satisfied so that they can go and make the business more money or build new products or whatever it is they're supposed to do. We're going to help you do that. And we're going to do that by giving you control over every device across every major OS: Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android. It doesn't matter. We're going to support every major OS in your environment, and we're going to do it across all form factors, from servers and workstations and laptops to tablets and smartphones, virtual machines, networks. It doesn't matter. The more devices that we can help you get visibility and control over, the more unified your management is going to be, and the better visibility, control, and security you're going to have. All of this is built on top of the NinjaOne platform that's going to give you policy-based control over devices and policy-based automation to help take those mundane tasks out of your employees' hands. We're going to give you unified reporting and analytics so that you have that visibility, and whether it be, again, for compliance or security or just operational reporting, you have that full visibility and the data at your fingertips to make decisions. We have a native multi-tenant architecture. So whether you're an MSP supporting, 100 clients, 10 clients, 1,000 clients, or you're an enterprise with multiple subsidiaries and complex organizational structures, you're going to be able to manage all of your devices and support your users in the structure that makes sense to you. And finally, we do believe in an ecosystem approach. And so we have a robust API and a ton of integrations to help you tie into the tools that you care about. Ninja will never be every tool for everybody, so we want to tie into those critical upstream and downstream tools that you have, so that we tie into this unified tech stack. All of this is added into a layer of human-centered AI that allows you to use AI in a way that's not black box, that gives information and intelligence to your technicians, and allows them to make better decisions and enables them to automate better. Now, this is a very high level view. I'd love to dig into really what we offer. And what we offer is these four key product areas. Endpoint and mobile device management. We're going to give you visibility and control over all of your devices. Remote access, so you can provide that one-to-one support to your end users. A backup and recovery suite that includes both physical devices and SaaS data. And then a service desk that allows you to manage all of your tickets, your knowledge base, your assets, and keep all of those service management workflows going and automated, fully unified in the NinjaOne platform. What makes NinjaOne different? There's a ton of things that aren't on this slide. I'll talk for a second about the things that aren't on this slide and then jump in. We really believe that we offer best-in-class support and enablement for our customers. We have a free certification program for every customer to get your employees proficient and experts on the NinjaOne platform quickly, and get the most out of the NinjaOne platform. We believe we have the best support in the industry, and that, again, if you go out and look at what customers say about NinjaOne, our support always comes up as absolutely top notch. We believe we have done a better job than anyone at partnering in the industry and building these tight integrations with the tools you use most. But most of all, we really look at our customers as partners, and we listen to them, and have this very customer-driven roadmap that allows you to define where we go next and make sure we're meeting your needs. But purely from a platform perspective, what sets us apart is, number one, our unified management. One lightweight agent, one centralized console, one data model. We really have focused on building a truly unified platform that's not cobbled together products that we've purchased in the market. We've really built this proprietary unified platform that lets you get full visibility and control. We make automation easy. We give you the tools to build automations, as well as out-of-box solutions to help you automate more. And we even bring automation to that level one, level two tech, so that they can get the most out of a platform that will take the most repetitive parts of IT and hand them off to technology, so that your technicians don't have to manage them. We give you fast real-time control. Anyone will tell you, and you can go in and use Ninja yourself and find out that we deliver that real-time visibility, that real-time control. And when you take an action in Ninja, within 60 seconds, it has been executed on a device. And you've gotten feedback on it. So we want it to be like you're sitting at a device at a physical service desk. Last but not least, we're a turnkey SaaS platform. There's nothing about the platform that you need to manage. We're going to manage it for you in that native multi-tenant architecture on the AWS platform, so it is flexible, scalable, and customizable. All right, that's it about the high level platform. I'd love to talk about our innovation velocity and what we've brought to market in the last 6 months. Hopefully these things are interesting to you, because I think Jeff's going to cover a lot of them. In the last 6 months, we've released over 200 features and feature enhancements. We have a major release every 8 to 10 weeks across all of our geographies, and we see major improvements across all products. It's very important to us that as we build new products and solutions, we don't abandon our core RMM or endpoint management platform. We are constantly innovating on every product that we have in market. So these are just the biggest items we've released in the last 3 quarters, but in Q1, we built a brand new backup engine. So we took our old backup engine, said this is not good enough, and built a completely new one from the ground up that was much more efficient, much more effective, and really a market leader for our backup technology. We added device tags. We added the ability to automatically import vulnerabilities from third-party vulnerability scanners. We added warranty tracking in our ITAM module. For MDM, we added macOS MDM, giving you the ability to use native MDM capabilities on Mac devices for patching, as well as a whole host of other capabilities. We added our AI-assisted patch approvals. We added our background mode, which is a huge upgrade for our remote access solution. We added patch caching for areas where we have low bandwidth needs. and OS deployment so that you can go to bare metal OS deployment for new devices. We've added the ability to see unmanaged devices in our ITAM module, long-term data performance tracking for like CPU and memory utilization and that sort of thing on devices. We added a fresh service integration and integrated SaaS backup. You may have heard we acquired Dropsuite earlier in this year, and we have already built a substantial integration between those solutions, really focused on later in this year having a complete integration so it feels like a unified part of the NinjaOne platform. These are just some of the things we've released. There's a lot of quality of life improvements, new features and capabilities, but these are some I just wanted to put in front of you. The core takeaway here is this is driven by our customers' requests, driven by a need to be the best endpoint solution in the market, but also a best solution for everything we deliver to the market. And ultimately, we'll be bringing you more every month, every 8 to 10 weeks as we roll out new features and capabilities. With that, I want to hand it off to Jeff to actually jump in and show you a little bit about the platform.
Thank you very much, Pete. And I will steal the screen share here. And hopefully right now you are seeing the main NinjaOne dashboard. And so right here, to Pete's point, we have visibility over all of our managed devices. We've got Windows workstations, we've got Windows servers, we've got macOS devices, we have mobile devices, so Android, iOS devices, iPad OS devices, and we get immediate visibility over what we need to pay attention to. Hey, do we have any servers that are offline? We can clearly see we have a couple that are down right now. Do we have any vulnerabilities that are present in our fleet? And this could come because NinjaOne recognizes that there are critical patches missing that allow exploits to be taken advantage of, or it could be because we're integrating a third-party scanning tool, so we have comprehensive and continuous visibility over all the exploits in our system, not just the ones that result from missing patches, but other ones that could be present in, say, software or device configurations on the machine that make it more easily accessible to a potentially malicious attacker. We'll also see information when we have failed patches or when we have pending patches that require approval, and we can also see any customizable alerts that we have set up. Those customizable alerts can have automated responses to self-heal, but in the event that the self-healing does not act as expected, we still raise that alert so you have visibility and a corresponding ticket that can be created so that a technician can directly address the issue in question. But before we go too far down the path of how we operate within Ninja, I do want to talk briefly about how we actually get devices into Ninja. How do we get that visibility and eliminate those blind spots that Pete was mentioning? And there's a multitude of ways to deploy devices. If we go to the top right, we can go ahead and add in a device manually. And this could be, again, a Windows, Linux, or Mac OS device. It could be iOS or Android. It could also be Hyper-V or ESXi hypervisors that you want to monitor within NinjaOne. It could be publicly accessible IP addresses or URLs via our cloud monitors. It could be network devices, your critical routers, switches, firewalls. Everything that makes it so that your workstations are something more than just expensive paperweights. You need to ensure that all that infrastructure is online and operational. But then to discover new devices, we can go ahead and run a network discovery scan. So if you're not in a domain environment, you have an easy way to discover devices purely through network-based discovery. And this would then deploy the NinjaOne agent out to those Windows devices. Now, if you do have a domain controller, we can go ahead and install on that domain controller, and NinjaOne will allow us to deploy through your domain. And so we can come in here and run an ad hoc discovery job or a scheduled discovery job that runs on a recurring basis to capture any new devices that aren't yet inside of NinjaOne. In this case, I can just go ahead and select a particular OU, look in any sub OUs, and then here I can see the 4 devices in this case that I'm able to go ahead and deploy to in an ad hoc manner. Now we're going to switch screens briefly and go into our app exchange right here because I want to show you another integration that we have that also makes deploying the agent really easy, which is an integration with Microsoft Intune. All we need to do here is sign in with our Microsoft credentials, and then we can go ahead and do a discovery job. We deploy based on group, so you just need to create the group that you want to target in Intune, and then we'll be able to see that here. And you can, of course, create multiple discovery jobs so that if you have devices that need to go to a different organization or a different location, you can ensure that everything flows in the manner that you expect. Now, that largely covers the Windows side, but let's talk about some of our other devices. If we come in here, you'll see that we have NinjaOne MDM for Apple as well as NinjaOne MDM for Android. So through Android Enterprise, we can do Google Zero Touch enrollment, we could do Knox Mobile enrollment, really any of the supported Android provisioning methods. This includes, say, an AFW prefix string. It includes the QR code that we mentioned earlier if you wanted to do a manual enrollment. And that's really beneficial for things like bring your own device scenarios where it's not a company owned device, but you do want to silo the work data and ensure it's protected on the Android device. And then if you're using Apple Business Manager, we can go ahead and set up automated device enrollment so that as you are purchasing your iPhones, your iPads, and your macOS devices, they're automatically funneling into NinjaOne, and therefore they're automatically going to be managed. And the goal of all of this is to eliminate those blind spots so that you don't have devices that you don't know about. If you have devices that you don't know about, it makes it really difficult to have a strong security posture. And if you have devices that are unmanaged, it makes it really difficult to make strategic decisions about what you do next because you're operating from an incomplete picture. Now, regardless of how devices get into NinjaOne, they are going to need a policy. The policy is the engine that makes Ninja go. If you can understand the policy, I think you understand how NinjaOne operates. And if we go into one of these policies, I think you'll see what I mean here. Over on the left-hand side, we have our conditions. This is what would alert and then automatically try to self-heal whatever the issue is or the configuration deviation is. We have our scheduled automations that can run as soon as the device joins the platform. In this particular example, if I want to provision a brand new device as soon as the NinjaOne agent is installed, I'm running a whole host of automations to install Google Chrome, install Zoom, VLC, but then also to enable BitLocker, to disable the start menu. And then install other applications, install other device configurations that mean that I am hardened against potential malicious attackers, and the device is not just open for potential compromise. Now, I want to spend a little time talking about patching because that's always a key focus for anyone who comes to NinjaOne is getting patching under control and making that a more automated process. And right here, we get a similar screen that we would see for macOS and for Linux devices, as well as our iOS devices. We can control when we want to scan for patches in this case. You can see we've got a variety of different scheduling options. This could be as frequently as every hour if you really need it, or we could go with a more custom schedule. Let's say we want to do something quarterly. We can go ahead and set our schedules like this. We could go ahead and have this occur, let's say after the second Tuesday of the month, which is traditionally Patch Tuesday. Maybe I want to go ahead and initiate my scan schedule a week after that second Tuesday of the month. Now, there's another good option here to stagger the deployment of patches. Maybe you don't want every single device to go out to the internet at the same time, at this scheduled time. And so we can instead stagger it over the course of 2 hours to minimize that network load. Now, there's an additional option here for you to establish a patch cache server. And that means that all of our Windows operating system patches, any of the applications that we deploy, any of our third-party software application patching, that will all flow through the cache server and then be distributed to other devices on the network. And that really minimizes the bandwidth utilization in situations where that is a big factor and you don't want to go ahead and crash the network to have every device individually go to the internet for their patches. You get the same scheduling options here for the update schedule. The update schedule is where we would typically download and then install the patches that have been approved. The scan schedule is for identifying when those patches are available. We do have the option here to pre-stage the updates. So if you don't want the update schedule to be when the updates are downloaded, checking that box there for pre-staging ensures that they will be downloaded on the scan schedule above. Now, how does something get approved? You can certainly do it manually, and for demonstration purposes, you can see we are manually approving most patches in this environment, just so we have something to show you. However, I think more realistically, we would perhaps approve patches automatically. What I really love is the time delay here. Maybe I want to go ahead and automatically approve patches, but only 6 days after the patch has been released. And that means that I have time to hear if there's a particular issue with the patch. And then if I know it's going to cause disruption, I can go ahead and remove it from the deployment queue. However, I say all that to mention that we have NinjaOne Patch Intelligence AI right here. So if you don't want to do your own scouring of the internet and doing your own research on Windows patches, Patch Intelligence AI does it for you. Any patches, if we turn on these settings here, like so, any patches that we hear issues about, there's known issues with a particular KB, that will be removed from the automated deployment queue, and we'll put it into a pending bin so we can manually review it and decide whether or not we should approve or reject this patch. If it should be pushed out because the complications are not relevant to our environment, or maybe the complications are relevant to our environment and we want to hold off until Windows releases a fix. And so this really helps with the patch review process. People are very leery of sometimes pushing patches too quickly because they're very familiar with the disruption that bad patches can cause. However, patching is a requirement. If we want to have a strong security posture, patching devices is an absolute must. And so we're behind between a rock and a hard place here. We need to install patches, but patches also cause disruption. And so Patch Intelligence AI inserts itself in the middle there to give you the confidence of knowing when patches are going to cause problems versus when they are okay to go ahead and push out and we don't expect any disruption. I can say from my personal experience, that is something that is absolute gold to have at your fingertips. If we come back into this tab here and go look at the patch dashboard, we can see all the status of patches across all our various OS types. This could be Windows, this could be Linux, this could be Mac. And then if we go in here, we can actually see what patches are available for approval. Now, this could be because we want to have a direct control over the deployment of that update. If I look at my Windows patching down here, feature updates, I generally want to have control over when those get pushed out. However, this could also be because Patch Intelligence AI has said, hey, caution with this particular patch. There's a problem here. And so we can actually click on this KB analysis column right here, which shows us if we have a caution flag, if we have a known issue with the patch, or if it appears to be stable. And so in this case, I can click on this, and this can give me a brief summary of the patch. We can see if there's any issues here. We go into this one, we can see that this is having some file and print sharing issues here, some remote desktop connectivity issues. Now, if that's heavily prevalent in my environment, I would say, well, I don't want to go ahead and deploy this because this could cause issues with my remote desktop capabilities. However, if I'm not really heavily leveraging remote desktop, in fact, maybe I don't use it at all, then I might say, hey, this is okay to go ahead and push out. This is not really relevant to my environment, and I don't expect it to have that impact. And of course, this is important because we can see over here that there are very real exploits that are remediated by this patch. We get info on all the exploits, and we can actually click on the exploit, which will take us to the NVD hosted by by NIST, so that we can see what the nature of the exploit is, and just have that information at our fingertips. And we also get a CVSS score right here, so we can see that this patch at the very top, a 9.8 out of 10, generally indicates a very high level CVSS score. And there's separate automations that we can use to alert whenever these very highly important patches, high CVSS score patches are available. Now, typically, Windows patches are going to require a reboot. You can see right here, we can prompt the end user to reboot. We can customize what that message says to them so they know it comes from the IT department. And we can also control how frequently they're bothered. Let's say every 4 hours, we'll give them a reminder, and then we'll go ahead and give them, let's say, 12 bites at the apple, opportunities to reboot their device before we will enforce it to ensure that the patches are installed and the exploits present on the device are remediated. Now, other policy settings here, we can see the ability to deploy our antivirus. We have integrations with SentinelOne, with Bitdefender Gravity Zone, with CrowdStrike, and with WebRoot. Those integrations are incredibly easy to set up, and then deployment is just a simple drop-down menu right here. And in the event that there is a threat that is detected, we just need to go to our threats right here, and we'd have a quick link into the portal for that particular EDR so that we can address the issue in that separate portal. We also have third-party software patching here. This operates very similarly to the Windows patching menu that we saw above, a scan schedule and update schedule. We also have the ability to let the end user know that the patches we need to deploy are we can't deploy them until the application that's in use is closed. And so we can ask the end user to close that application gracefully so that NinjaOne is able to continue the patching process. We can set default approvals here. So maybe for every application in the NinjaOne repository, I just want to automatically approve it, assuming it's on the device. And so that ensures that any available patches get automatically pushed and the exploits that are present get resolved. Now, NinjaOne integrates with Winget as well. So if we go to add software in here, you'll see two repositories. One is the NinjaOne repository, and the other is the Winget repository, which currently gives us access to more than 5,000 applications that we have the ability to patch or install. And so that drastically expands the capability that the platform has to cover any applications that you have in the field. Now, NinjaOne also offers the ability to track warranties. We're going to do this natively for Dell, Toshiba, Lenovo, HP, and Microsoft devices. So any of those device types will automatically retrieve the warranty information. That'll be present at the device level, but you can also make a report to see that at scale across many devices, or to see where devices are approaching their warranty expiration. Right here, we can ensure a notification, in this case, 90 days before the warranty expires. Now, if you have a different source of truth for warranty data, let's say for Apple devices, something we wouldn't cover natively, you are able to integrate that and have warranty data updated either manually or via API. Now, I want to go back to this main dashboard here. And that's because we've gone through some of the setup, we've seen the policy, we understand how some of these settings get put in place and configured. We know how devices are entering and enrolling into the NinjaOne platform. But how do we actually use this? What happens when we actually start managing devices in NinjaOne day to day? And so right here, we could go to devices and see any of our alerts. These are the conditions that we saw inside of policies. And so what's really nice about these is that we have the ability to not just detect something. For example, we can see that BitLocker status, if it's off, we're going to go ahead and get an alert created here. We could also have a ticket created. So we can go ahead and create a ticket in NinjaOne ticketing, or we can create a ticket in an ITSM tool like Zendesk, like ServiceNow, like Freshservice, or a PSA like ConnectWise Manage or Autotask. And we can also send this into any other external service, Slack, Microsoft Teams, PagerDuty. We could send to any service that accepts a webhook, like Azure. We could also send out an email or an emergency text via SMS. And this allows us to do out-of-band notifications as well as notifications to services that don't currently have a direct integration with NinjaOne. Now, another great option here is that we have the ability to respond automatically to any of these conditions that we detect. And so in this particular case, I am running a script result condition. This lets me convert a script into an alert. In this case, we're checking to see on the device if the firewall is enabled or not enabled. If it's not enabled, I'm going to go ahead and get an alert. In this case, this checks every 10 minutes, runs the same script over and over again. And if the firewall is disabled, I'll get that alert. Now, the alert is great, very useful. However, I would also love to automatically enable the firewall and clear this issue up so that I don't have to worry about it. And so I can go ahead and add in my automation here to enable the firewall. Right. Well, somebody looks like somebody might have deleted it out from underneath me, but I would go ahead and add in this automation right here. And then right here, we would go ahead and recognize when the condition is no longer met. If the firewall is back up and running, then we can go ahead and reset this alert and also close the corresponding ticket that was created as a result of this alert. So very, very useful for not just responding to those low-hanging fruit issues that ultimately end up eating away at a technician's time each day because they're having to manually respond, much better to go ahead and do an automatic response here. And then again, we'll see these alerts reset as the issues are self-healed. And of course, if we ever need to manually self-heal something, like this device needs to be rebooted, we can go ahead and just reboot manually at the device level. We could reboot now, but it's also nice to be able to schedule a reboot for later after we expect this device to not be in use, and a reboot would not actually impact the end user. Now, we also will have the ability to approve our software and our operating system patches. I want to emphasize here, I was focused on Windows patches earlier, but you're seeing everything. We're seeing Windows, we're seeing Linux patches. Here's all the Linux patches we have available. We're pulling all this from the repository that's set on the local device, just as an FYI. And then for some of our MDM enrolled devices, we have our macOS patches as well as our iPad OS patches as well. You'll see all of these right here. And then when we want to approve something, like maybe I want all my devices to be on OS 26 right here, I can go ahead and approve or reject. And so very easy here to go ahead and select my enforcement date since this is an MDM patch. And then this will ensure that all devices on that particular policy, they'll be on that version by virtue of having enforced that specific deadline. Now, I want to talk about backup as well. So we've been talking about the main endpoint management features of NinjaOne. We can alert and self-heal issues. We can deploy patches to our devices, deploy our EDR tool. I haven't shown it yet, but we can also go ahead and upload installers or custom automations. So right here in this tab, I can go ahead and add in my own custom script in Batch, PowerShell, JavaScript, Shell script, or VB script. And I also have the ability to go ahead and upload files. This could be an installer. So if I needed to push out a MSI, MSIX, or EXE to a Windows device, or a DMG or a PKG to a Mac device, I can go ahead and upload my installer here, add in my parameters for a quiet install, plus any token that needs to be attached. And then I can go ahead and automate the installation of that application, which I'll show in just a second. You can also go ahead and upload a file to transfer a file out to all your devices at scale. Maybe there's a particular registry file or a SQL file that you want to deploy out to a lot of different machines. Very easy to go ahead and upload that here. And this is going to support Windows, macOS, and Linux devices. I can go ahead and change that to upload file. You do have the option to link to blob storage if you'd prefer to do that. And all these automations that we have in here, they can be categorized, and the categories do play into user permissions, so you can control which technicians have access to certain scripts and which ones have been denied access to certain scripts. So if we come back in here, if I did want to automate software deployment, very easy to go ahead and say if a particular application is missing, like Zoom, and I'm adding in the asterisks here as wildcards, I could then go ahead and deploy Zoom out very easily. And that's a great example of an automated workflow that is in use probably by almost every NinjaOne customer, detecting when something is not right on the device, where you've deviated from compliance, and then using the automations to self-heal the device back into compliance. I mentioned backup, so I wanted to just show the various options that we have for backup. On a macOS and a Windows device, you're going to get the ability to back up files and folders or documents right here. And so we can specify a location, and then these will be backed up into the AWS cloud using storage that you license from NinjaOne. Now, on Windows devices, we're going to get the option to do an image backup. And so here we could go into the AWS cloud, but you could also go to local storage, any network file share that you control. And then we can, of course, do a hybrid option where we're first going to go to your local storage, and then we're going to sync that back up to the cloud. Now, our retention options here are very good. We can go up to a maximum of 10 years in the cloud here. So you've got a lot of different coverage to ensure that you're meeting auditing and compliance standards and retaining this data for the length of time that you need. Now, we've recently launched a new capability here. I'll actually go into this environment. And this is the ability to back up a network attached storage. So if you have a QNAP or a Synology NAS, really any file share, we can go ahead and go into the policy overrides right here and configure this to back up from a network share. You can see that comes up as a third option when we do this at the device level. And then we can set our target right here, validate that we've got a good connection, and then this will also be backed up to the AWS cloud. Now, to actually use any of this data that we're backing up, I would go into the device backup manager right here. I'll see my network share backup. Here's all the individual files that I have available. If I had more, I could search for them, but this is pretty simple. And then when I check the box, I could restore, I could download to my machine. One thing I love about the restore option is that you can restore to the device. So right here, maybe Andy's laptop is offline, but there's critical data I need to get from the cloud to an operational device at the location. I can go ahead and say, well, Andy's laptop is down, but Kaylin's workstation is up and running. And so we can go ahead and browse where we want to actually restore that file directly to Kaylin's device. Now that covers the endpoint side. And of course, I am not showing it on this demonstration, but you can also do the bare metal restore on an image backup. So you could go ahead and mount that image in the cloud to retrieve specific files or folders. And then you also have the option to restore the full image to a bare metal device in the event of disaster recovery. But I also wanted to show the SaaS side, the cloud side of backups. So this is NinjaOne Unified Backup, not just covering the endpoint and physical devices, but then also all the data that's inside the cloud in Microsoft 365 and in Google Workspace. All of that is absolutely critical data that if it's lost could almost mean the end of the business. I know losing that data at NinjaOne, that would be a nightmare scenario to lose all the data that we have in Microsoft 365 or in Google Workspace. And so what we can do here is link our various organizations. We can see our various seat usages here, what plan we're on. This one's on the archiver SKU. This one's on the regular backup SKU. And then what's nice is we can actually get a direct link in here to go ahead and restore. So I'll go ahead and hit the restore option here. And already I've set up my M365 backup. I can see my various users that are in place right here. I can actually click into a user in this case, and I'll see their email inbox. And if there's something I need to download or restore, I've got that option right there. This also applies to OneDrive, not just the email inbox. And so if I go into OneDrive, I could restore everything in the OneDrive, or I could, again, cherry pick a few specific files, and then I have the option here to go ahead and do a download. Now, this applies to SharePoint as well. If we come back here, you'll see SharePoint. We could do individual sites. We could restore the entire thing, or again, individual files. And then we do have the Teams option here. So if you want to back up your public Teams chats, you can do that. And then the Archiver SKU, if we go back in here and look at the Archiver SKU, this gives you journaling of email backups, so the real-time aspect instead of every 2 hours. It also gives you abilities for legal hold and various compliances. So very good option here in case you need sort of real-time backups, journaling of the backups, in addition to private Teams chats and more advanced legal hold and e-compliance capabilities. Now, any of the things that we've talked about here, let's say backup, we have the option to go ahead and create a ticket whenever a backup job has failed, or whenever new software has been added to a device, or whenever a threat has been detected by an integrated antivirus. And so what we can then do here is go ahead and create a ticket for any of these actions. And that can go, again, into an integrated ITSM tool, but it can also go into NinjaOne ticketing. So if we come out here, we can go over to the left-hand side and see all of our various tickets. So right here, we can see that no patch has been installed on 60 days on this particular device. And so that's useful information. Usually I would expect that a device gets a patch installed every 60 days. Linux, I think especially, tends to have more patches than average. So what we can do here is actually go ahead and just run patching. Let's go ahead right from within the ticket. I don't even have to really click on anything. Let's just go ahead and run a patching automation right there to install patches on the device. I could also go ahead and click on the device itself, and then that takes me right into the device level here. Now I'm going to switch tabs here, show you a different device. Let's go back in here. Go to this machine right here. And so this is the device level, and you'll see that we've got pretty good consistency here across our various device types. Here's a Linux device, and if I go ahead and go into a different tab, you'll see a macOS device, an iOS device. They all look very similar. You get this sort of view here, and at this view, we can go ahead and take action on devices. We can use the live terminal here to go ahead and operate at the device, and you can see that this is like, working at the machine itself. There's no delay, there's no bottleneck. It's really easy to operate within. Now, we also have the ability to use NinjaOne Remote for screen share, and this applies across Windows devices, macOS devices, Linux devices, Android devices, and iOS devices, and iPadOS devices, if you consider those to be separate. All of those devices all support remote access. Now, on a Windows device, you get an additional capability, which is background mode. And what this does is this allows me to remote in a system session on the device. This is completely separate from the end user. They are not able to see what I am doing on the machine. They're not even aware that I'm remoted in. At the same time, I also cannot see what they are doing. So there's no privacy issues there. I'm not able to silently shadow them. If I wanted to see what they see, I would have to connect in a normal session, and it would be very obvious that I was connected. Now, in background mode, I have the option to go ahead and use CMD or PowerShell, the task manager here. If I needed to go ahead and look for something specific in the event viewer, I have that option too. There's also more you can do. If I wanted to go ahead and open up Firefox, that would be a great option, do some silent web browsing in the background. Now, up at the top, you get all the copy and paste options. So pasting is keystrokes, various keyboard shortcuts. You do get a file transfer tool here. And then we also have a couple different reboot options. I personally love using these remote tools right here. So you don't necessarily need to start a remote access session to get started. I can go ahead and make registry modifications silently in the background here, kill processes. I could upload or download files through the file browser. I can stop and start services through the services manager. A lot of capabilities here to impact the device. And again, all of these right here, completely silent. The end user is not aware of what you're doing. Now, I also love the custom field capability. So for any information that you want to have at your fingertips that is not natively collected by NinjaOne, we have the ability to go ahead and store that information in custom fields. So right here, I can see this is my user management custom field tab. And so this tells me what my service account name is. It's Ninja. And then if I need the password right here, I can go ahead and reveal what the password is. I can copy it and then use that within my session. And this is, again, something that'll go back to being hashed out after 20 seconds. Now, if we want to get more advanced here, I am tracking my local administrators, my local users, but then I also have a workflow to detect who is an unauthorized administrator. So if somebody is not in my system defined as having local admin access, they're going to give me an alert right here and say, well, this user has admin rights, but we don't think that they should because they're not in your system. There's a massive amount of customization that you can do here. There's a lot of different custom field types. This is a WYSIWYG field, a what you see is what you get field, and it allows you to do HTML formatting. So you're able to really compress a lot of dense technical information into a view that's easy to understand, easy to use in the moment. When you're a technician trying to get something done, you're on the phone with somebody trying to get their problem fixed. Having this information clearly understood means that you're not trying to hunt for something. It means that you're not confused in the moment. It just means your life is overall a lot easier. Now, in the event that your device is not in the typical managed ecosystem, doesn't have the NinjaOne agent installed. It's not enrolled in NinjaOne MDM, but you need access. What we can do is use NinjaOne Quick Connect. This lets us create an invitation, and then we can go ahead and create a code. Let me see if I can find one that doesn't say test here. We'll come down here to our ad hoc invite. You'll see the code. They just need to enter that code, and then that will allow the technician to access their device. We can see this here. You can connect in the local user's context, or you can connect as an admin through Entra or a local admin so that you can elevate past UAC prompts. And you can also deploy the NinjaOne agent through here as well if that becomes an option. This applies to Windows, it applies to macOS, it applies to iPhones, iPads, and Android devices. All of them can use Quick Connect. And then, of course, we also have NinjaOne Remote for managed devices as well. I see a question here in the chat. Corey's asking about, they use lots of different custom fields. I think you can see right here that there's a lot of different options here to organize everything as you see fit. And you can have multiple custom fields belong to these tabs. This is, again, a very linear way to display data so that, as you mentioned, you get all these various custom fields. You want that to be a very linear, clear experience so that you don't create additional confusion, again, in the heat of the moment when you're trying to solve an issue. And all this data that we see here, this is all data that can be used from the devices menu. Maybe I want to, actually, here's a good example. Maybe I want to find where I'm using a particular Linux patching repository. I'm going to go ahead and go into my custom fields. I'm going to find where I have my Linux repositories right there. And then maybe I want to see where I have security.ubuntu. And I'll go ahead and add that in there. And then right there, I can see this particular device is using the security.ubuntu repository to point to. And again, this is something I was able to very quickly script and then write into a custom field, and it then becomes something that I can use to automate a response, automate an alert to, and it becomes something that I can use for searching and reporting capabilities as well.
Hey, Jeff, we've got about
Yep.
7 minutes left. Do we want to pivot to questions or do you just have
Yeah.
Um, as you guys can all see, NinjaOne's a pretty big platform. I don't think it's possible to cover every single thing we do in Ninja in an hour, especially when I talk for half the beginning. So I'm gonna show up just really quick. I have to show you something for webinar and marketing purposes. So give me 1 second. Next steps. If you do want a trial, you can go ahead and scan that QR code and go ahead and go trial or ninjaone.com/free trial, free trial form. Sorry. We do offer NFRs, up to 10 free licenses for 6 months, if you want to try it out or use Ninja internally to really dig in and spend some time with the platform. And we do have some upcoming events that, if you're interested, you can go ahead and check out, including that more customer-centric platform overview. With that, I'll hand it back to Jeff and I'll toss out some questions. Marco, and there were actually a couple earlier questions about reports. Can you do like a very quick dive on reports?
Absolutely. So right here, we have two different flavors of reports. We have the summary reports. The summary reports are going to look like this. Let me go ahead and switch over to a different group. But this is going to be nice, pretty PDF reports. It reports on things like patch enablement here, failed patches, patch compliance for workstations compared to servers. We don't have any workstations in this environment, so that's why we only see servers. You can also customize this. So I'm showing patching related metrics, but this could be alert related metrics. It could be automation metrics. It could be remote access sessions that have occurred over the time frame of the report, what applications were added or removed. And this can all be sent out on a regular schedule. And this is something that you can collect multiple reports together. So there's only one email being received by the person you're sending this to. That's the summary reports. We also offer data table reports. This allows you to take the views that we see, sorry, clicked on the wrong thing. From here, these customizable columns that we can put on the devices grid, including all of our custom fields. This can all be placed into a CSV style report. And so that can be emailed out alongside your PDF reports so that you get comprehensive coverage across metrics that are, better displayed visually. And then right here, we have more dense information that's more appropriate for a CSV.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Let's speed run a couple of these. Can you restore Windows images remotely?
Uh, Somebody would need to be at the physical device in order to run through the prompts. So you cannot do that fully hands-off remotely, but you are able to restore via the cloud. Somebody does need to be present in that pre-boot environment in order to actually say, here's the encryption key and here's where I want to restore the disk. So it can be done remotely. but you would need at least a pair of hands to actually walk through that.
Awesome. BitLocker, if the device is already BitLocked, can NinjaOne detect this and store the key?
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as the key is accessible on the device, we will display that. And in the event the key is not visible for us, we do offer instructions at the device level to show you how you can fix it so that the key is visible.
Plan to we use Intune for Mac OS. Will Ninja integrate with Intune Entra to pass compliance status from Ninja to Microsoft?
That's on our roadmap. It's not a part of the integration today, but I think in our next two releases, I believe that I think we're going to have that in there.
Awesome. Once updates are released, is the dojo updated with tutorials documentation or how to go about performing these new tasks?
Yes, they are. In fact, they are actually updated in advance of the releases so that you have access to that information and can be prepared.
I will say the dojo information is more about how to rather than what to do. If you're looking for use cases, Jeff usually has a release webinar and he goes through sort of more real world examples on what you can do with those things. Jeff, in ticketing, can is there a plan to have automated scheduled ticket creation to complete a manual task on a device?
Yeah, that's not something we can do today, but that is absolutely something that is on our roadmap. I think we'll see that in the first half of next year.
Awesome. Is there an invitation link the user can use to self-install the NinjaOne agent?
So yes, you would have the ability to host that yourself or send it to them. So if we go into devices here and we look at our agent installers, you can see that we click on this, you get a little installer right there that you could download and send to them. You also get a script-based command that you can use via PowerShell to install. And then we also have the option here for just sending them a URL. So if you copy and paste and send them this URL, they could download and they could install it. They do have to have admin rights because we do operate as system. Another deployment option is, of course, Quick Connect if you have the admin credentials and want to install it, but don't want to compromise giving the admin credentials to the end user.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm responding to Steven's request there. One second. Steven, you should have someone reaching out to you very shortly. Um, Chromebooks, what's the plan?
Yeah, so we are currently devising how we want to handle Chromebooks. That's more of a long-term plan. I don't want to say that's going to be something in the near term in the way that I've kind of alluded that we're working on a lot of the things that are being mentioned. One thing that you can do today with Chromebooks is you do have the option to create unmanaged devices inside of NinjaOne. So a lot of people, they have the separate management inside of Google that they are already paying for, don't want to double pay within Ninja. And so you can actually get the visibility inside of Ninja by adding in these devices as unmanaged devices. So we have no direct capability to manage them, but we're just pulling information from the Google API in here so that we can go ahead and add in our Chromebooks into our reporting on things like warranty tracking. And so when the device is no longer going to be supported, we want to have our Chromebooks right alongside our Dell, Toshiba, Lenovo, and all our other devices in Ninja.
Awesome. Victor, there is a way to pull data from Ninja into Power BI. We have a tutorial somewhere. I actually don't have that right in front of me, but we are at time, so I am going to stop there. Very quickly, thank you everyone so much for joining us. If you have follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out. If you are interested in a trial, again, we will have people reach out today, including you, Stephen. I know you've been looking for one and haven't gotten one. If you want to learn more about Ninja, again, we have a customer webinar coming up. You can join and do a deeper dive. Beyond that, hopefully this was helpful for you all. We really appreciate you joining us and hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, everyone.